Hello everyone, welcome to week 7. Time flies and the next week is a spring break. I wish you have a wonderful spring break with your family and your friend. And we are already halfway through this semester. Please hang in there and stay on track. This week we are reading the chapter 4 from Pacino and Warren, which focuses on the building cooperative partnership with the parents of the children with a disability. This chapter is especially important because it helps us understand the parent perspective, not just the policy and the IEP procedure, but also the emotional, cultural, and the rational experiences family go through. As a future educator, your ability to build trust with a family will directly impact children's success. Learning objective for this week. By the end of this chapter, you should be able to first understand how assessment and diagnosis affect family emotionally and socially. Second, to identify barriers that prevent strong cooperation between school and family. Third, explain what inclusive and culturally responsive partnership look like. And finally, apply strategy like support transition planning and the long-term student success. This chapter is not just talking about theoretical knowledge, it is very practical. Let's begin with assessment diagnosis. For the educator, diagnosis often follows procedure, testing, documentation, and the IUP development, a lot of paperwork. But for the family, diagnosis impact identity. Parent mind or the caregiver mind experience fear, confusion, or stigma. Some might blame themselves, others might worry about the labeling. This chapter reminds us that IUP meetings should not feel like compliance meetings. They should feel cooperate. And the most importantly, conversation must be strength-based, not deficit-focused. Now, let's look at the key concept, inclusion. Inclusion is belonging and participation. When we talk about inclusion, we are not just talking about placement. Inclusion means two things working together. The first one, belonging. The child feels accepted, valued, and emotional safe. Second, participation. The child is meaningfully involved in academic and social activity. A child may be physically present in the classroom, but emotional invisible. Please ask yourself, does this child have friends? Does this child get called on? Does this child get leadership opportunity? Does this child feel proud of their identity? Inclusive is relational, not just structural, not just physical placement. Mainstreaming or general education placement alone does not guarantee inclusive. For example, a child sits in the classroom but always walks with a separate chair. A child is pulled out during a group activity. A child never participates in cooperative discussion. That is integration, not necessarily inclusive. True inclusive requires adaptive instruction, peer interaction, flexible grouping, and also provide them support when they need it. Remember, inclusive requires differentiated support. Inclusive must be intentional. Social acceptance matters. Social belonging is as important as academic success. Researchers show that peer relationships strong affect themselves about the motivation and also the school engagement. Remember, peer relationship also affect the long-term outcome and school engagement. If a child is academically supported but socially isolated, inclusive is incomplete, please ask yourself, how do the teacher intentionally teach empathy? How do we design the classroom that can fit their cultural background to let them feel more inclusive in your classroom? Let's move on. The last point about the parent worry about stigma and marginalization. Parents often worry about labeling, bullying, and being treated differently. Lower expectation from the teacher, social exclusion. Many families fear their child might be seen as less capable. So, when we discuss inclusion with a family, we must emphasize strength, share peer interaction opportunity, communicate classroom culture clearly, reassure family about social support system. Remember, inclusive is emotional for the family. Think about a time when you feel excluded. What made you feel that way? How could a teacher have changed that experience? This makes the concept personal and powerful. Let's look at the second key concept. Parents want to be heard. They want their experiences respected. They value two-way communication, not being talked at but told with. They want strength-based conversation, not just lists of the problems. And they want shared decision-making power. This means we move from expert control to the partnership. Let's talk about next slide. Families bring diverse cultural background, beliefs, and experiences. We must avoid assumption, especially about involvement. Some families may not attend events due to the work schedule. Some might hesitate to speak due to the language barrier. Some might come from a culture where the teachers are viewed as authority figure and not questioned. Respecting the family narrative and the lived experience is central to the cultural responses practice. Let's talk about barrier to cooperation. What kind of barrier we might have? Several barriers can prevent strong partnership. Deficit thinking is one major barrier. Focusing only on what a child cannot do. Professional dominance in a meeting can silence parents or caregivers. Cultural misunderstanding can create mistrust. Limited communication and the inconsistent follow-up weaken relationship. Trust takes time and he must be intentional built. So, what can we do? First, practice empathy. Ask yourself, if I were the parent, what would I want to hear? Second, focus on the strengths. Third, actively invite family participation, not just attendance, but voice. Try to hear what they say. That is very important. Be a good listener. 4. Avoid jargon. Use a clear, understandable language. Don't use very professional terms during a conversation. And finally, build trust through consistent response to the email, follow through on the promises, and maintain the open communication. Now, let's look at transition planning support. Transition planning is often overlooked, but it should be begin earlier. We need to connect academic goals to the life skill. For example, independent, employment, self-efficacy. A multidisciplinary team approach helps ensure continuity. Family must feel supported not just for this year, but for the long term, like a kid continue for the long term outcome. Transition planning is about the child's future quality of life. Now, let's look at the practical classroom application. In your future classroom, you can apply this idea immediately. First, use strength-based language in the meeting. Second, provide translate material when he needed. And also invite the family to share their goal, their expectation. Create an inclusive classroom culture that promotes belonging and support sympathy and the peer awareness, because inclusive is a community effort. This week, our assignment is working on our discussion board, the third one. Now for your discussion board, reflect on this question: how can school cooperate effectively with the family of the children with a disability? Please submit one thoughtful initiate post and at least one meaningful peer response. Let's end it with a reflection. I want you to think more deeper. What do the parents want most for their children? How can the school address bullying toward the children with a disability? How can the educator support siblings? These are not simple questions, but they are important ones. As a future educator, your mindset matters.